What Sam did in his opening statement is he went after the Book of Mormon, and what he did was pointed out what we've been pointing out for many, many, many years. And that is that the Book of Mormon is modalistic. It's written by someone who's trying to present a Trinitarian understanding, but in the process says that Jesus is the Father and the Son multiple times. So he's trying to be a monotheist, but he's confused about the relationship with the Father and Son, and the Spirit for that matter. And this is consistent with what we know, that there was no first vision. Joseph Smith didn't live where he said he lived in 1820. The revival he talks about didn't happen until 1824, 1825. So since it was in, by the way, I've said 4 years, I was thinking about this. Since the revival took place 1824, 1825, the only spring where there would be a revival would be the spring of 1825. So there's a 5-year whoops. Once Joseph Smith gets to creating the story of the first vision, he does so initially 7 years later, 1832, I think. Might be 1834. I think let's say 1832. I don't have anything in front of me. I'm going off the top of my head. But again, there's nothing polytheistic about that. You don't get two separate distinct personages until after you start getting the weirdness of the Book of Abraham and all the stuff that eventually leads to the wildly polytheistic perspectives that he is espousing in the King Follett Funeral Discourse just shortly before he dies in 1844. Which is why I've said before, say it again, if he had not been murdered in 1844, if he'd been given just 2 more years, there would be no Mormonism today. There'd be no more. No one would be able to figure out what in the world he was saying. He was becoming so wildly self-contradictory that there wouldn't be any Mormonism. But those people that murdered him in the Carthage jail, it was not a martyrdom. He was shooting back. It was a gunfight, but they still murdered him. They made sure we'd end up having the Mormon Church today by doing what they did. But the point is that Joseph Smith went through massive change and development in his doctrine of God. And the Book of Mormon reflects it. The Book of Mormon is the first. You can only do so many changes in it. And there were changes regarding this later on, but not nearly enough to hide the fact that it is a modalistic book. Joseph Smith is a modalist in 1829, 1830. And if you know any modalists, they're all monotheists. They're not polytheists. That was straightforward. And then, I didn't have this at home when I was listening to this. And here was Luke 10:22. Luke 10:22 in the King James, all things delivered to me of my Father, and no man knoweth who the Son is but the Father, and who the Father is but the Son, and he to whom the Son will reveal him. So that's King James. What Wayman has done is he's marked in the King James where the changes are. I wish I could display this, but I can't. So here's what it comes out as. This is Smith's final version. Well, the version that's in the manuscripts. All things are delivered to me of my Father, and no man knoweth that the Son is the Father, and that the Father is the Son, but him to whom the Son will reveal it. Now, there isn't any question anywhere in anyone's mind who studies New Testament manuscripts that was ever a reading that ever existed in the history of the New Testament. So my guess is that Kwaku's response to that would be, right, that's because these are inspirational insights and not an attempt to determine what Luke originally wrote. That'd be my guess. The conversation didn't go well. There was a lot of talking over. And so I don't know. But that would be my guess, is that what he was trying to say was, this isn't Joseph Smith correcting to what Luke originally wrote. This is a new inspired insight. Now, you and I go, well, why not write an inspired commentary on Luke then? And say, this may be what Luke wrote, but this is how we should understand it, or something like that. It's obvious to me, I think it should be obvious to anyone, that Joseph Smith was intending to say that this was what Luke originally wrote. And of course, there is zero evidence of that whatsoever from a manuscript perspective. But what's interesting is how the theology then is relevant here and how it impacts this.